I'm your huckleberry.
This is the Smoking Guns Podcast.
No G with a Z, POD, Smoking Guns Podcast, coming to you on Monday night. It's our night. It's time. We are a podcast that deals with professional football in San Antonio, specifically indoor football in San Antonio, around the San Antonio Gunslingers of the Indoor Football League, the 1-1 San Antonio Gunslingers. I am Philip Higginbotham. I'm one of your hosts for the show, but we have had some sort of bug here in the studio. It turns out that both Leo and RC, my brother and sister of podcasting, are unavailable tonight. They are both under the weather. Please keep them in your thoughts over the next couple of days. They're just sick. There's nothing terrible going on, but they don't feel good, and they wanted immediately to get some rest. And so we said, do that. And I reached out to the one and only Ralph Judkins, the voice of the Gunslingers.
One of the voices, anyway.
To come in, because we don't spend enough time talking about Gunslingers football and the IFL. We need to do it not only in the booth at a game or texting back and forth all week long, or our phone calls once or twice a week that usually last an hour or so.
Minimum.
But we also need to do it here on the show. We need to drag this conversation out in front of everybody. Ralph, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here, Phil.
Feel bad that we can't have Leo and RC here, because we will have here in about 25 minutes. We're supposed to have Coach James Fuller joining us. He's going to pop in, and we're going to talk to him, maybe get to know him a little better. You know what we do here at Smoking Guns. I'll have to ask the really weird questions about his favorite breakfast taco and, the top song on his playlist and RC stuff. I guess I got to take that over for the night, but that's okay. I can do that. I'm capable of doing that. Mark Yamaguchi already checking in. Howdy from Houston, Cougs. Yeah, I have a feeling about 8:00, some people will be listening to us while they are watching something else on their TV, and that is okay. There's a big basketball game tonight. I'm not particularly interested because college basketball does very little for me. I've never really gotten the bug to deal with college basketball. I'm a football guy, and that's just kind of where I am. Basketball is like the lowest of the four major sports for me. Even the NBA is okay for me. So y'all enjoy your game. This is this is James, I think, Palmer. What big game is on? The Houston Cougars and the Florida Gators are playing for the national championship tonight in basketball, I believe. That is my understanding. If I'm wrong, somebody tell me. But that's my understanding. That's how much I'm keeping up with it. So Holly checking in. Hi all. Hope everyone feels better. Indeed. And Jordan Stubing also checking in. Hope everybody feels better soon. We do want them to feel better soon. And they'll be back with us next week. Kind of good. Oh, and it's in San Antonio. Jordan Stubing is right. That game is taking place at the Alamo Dome, which is
should be downtown. Yep.
Yeah, which is why the Brahmas could not play their full schedule in the Alamo Dome, but that turned out to be a blessing because the Brahmas stink. They're not very good so far this year, but we're not here to talk about the Brahmas or the UFL. We used to do that a lot, but that's not what we do. And certainly when we have a guest like Ralph here, who is plugged into the IFL and plugged into the San Antonio Gunslingers, why would we spend time talking about the Brahmas and their inability to score touchdowns and only field goals when we could talk about the San Antonio Gunslingers?
Yeah, if we talk about them, you're only going to hear bad things out of my mouth because, we can call them the Brahmas, but that name belongs to the Gunslingers, the San Antonio part, because they play here, they practice here, they're owned here, and none of those things are true about the Brahmas.
True.
Well, they only play here to take locals' money. That's about it.
Unfortunately, that's true.
So little connection. It's all up in Arlington, and yeah.
So let's talk about the Gunslingers. We were on a bye week this week, so we did not win this week, but we did not lose this week. So that's a bonus. It's nice to go through a weekend and just enjoy the IFL without getting all bound up in the nervousness that is a game. Do you get nervous for games? I mean, I know that when we call games, because you and I are both the broadcast crew for the games, there's a certain nervousness with that because you're putting yourself out there and you're doing. So I know that's true. But when you're watching road games, is there a knot that kind of forms in your stomach as you're watching, and like Bay Area seems to kind of be doing better in the first half and has a lead through the first half of that game last week? Is there a little bit of a knot that develops in you, Ralph, when you watch these games?
Absolutely. I cannot just watch a Gunslinger game. Either I should have grabbed my sheets. I am keeping book on the game the whole time. I will secretly on the down low actually be calling that game. I'm working on something kind of exciting. We don't know when it'll happen or how it'll happen, but I'll tell this audience here. What if, ladies and gentlemen, just saying what if, when you log on to the IFL network, there was a San Antonio channel that you could click on and hear myself and Philip Higginbotham calling that game from wherever that is, and myself and Philip will be right here in our respective home offices calling the game off of the screen, and then we just bring up the volume for the referee, and it's like we were calling the game, but we won't have to get on an airplane, Philip, won't have to stay in a hotel, won't have to eat road food, and won't have to come back. We would be able to actually call the game and provide a home broadcast and a home perspective. That's kind of what we're hoping to be able to do here. And one thing more, but I won't even mention that other thing because it's exciting a prospect for me to even mention. But that's something that we could potentially do now because it is on the IFL network, and that network stream could certainly be restreamed with local commentary for all the teams. And there's a huge bonus to this for the sponsors. Well, thank you, Holly. You definitely appreciate the positive words. At least we would know how to pronounce our own players' names, and we'd be pretty good at pronouncing the other team's names. But that would be a huge bonus to our sponsors because the ads that you would actually watch would actually be seen by the home crowd. Because you're at the Gunslinger game, you're not seeing the ads that are for you there unless you couldn't make it and you're watching on the IFL network. And frankly, we don't want to see their ads all that much. If there's a network-wide advertisement that the IFL puts out, absolutely we're going to show that. But
yeah, I'm never going to need an orthopedic clinic in Jacksonville, ever. I'm never going to need that.
I hope you never do. Or an emergency room in Jacksonville, for that matter.
So watching those ads, while I appreciate what they're doing, they're supporting the sport, and we want them to continue to do that. It falls on deaf ears a little bit, and if there could be home-centric broadcasts of even road games without the expense, which is what keeps that from happening now. Ralph and I are 2 extra plane tickets and an extra hotel room, and all of those things, and the IFL is already just strapped so tight, all of the franchises are, that taking on that extra expense, flying equipment and crews, and because it's not just like Ralph and I could go alone to Arizona this week and you could have a home broadcast of the Gunslingers game. There is about 8 people that would have to go to make that work. And that you got to pay them for their time. You have to pay to fly the equipment. You have to, I mean, it's a lot.
And you got to risk that equipment because that equipment is going to go through TSA and through baggage handling and everything else and might come out broken on the other end. Leonardo, that's an interesting idea. If we had B-roll of the 6-shooters, that would be very entertaining to run during the ad breaks. But we'd probably be running our own ads on our end. But that's an interesting concept if we didn't have an ad.
So as you were watching this weekend without the San Antonio Gunslingers taking the field, we've got a few minutes before James Fuller is going to stop in. What were some of the notes that you thought were interesting? And we may get into them a little deeper in the show later, but I have some things that immediately caught my eye. But what about you, Ralph? What caught your eye around the IFL this week as you watched games?
Well, I'm a bit of a numbers nerd, and I had one of my 2 interns, BJ Stephan, a super fan up in Green Bay, doing a little math for me. And at the risk of boring everyone in the audience, the average score by a team in IFL games played 2021 to 2024 was 43 points a game. So the average score was 86. I wanted to keep track of that, given that we had this huge surge of defensive rules. Right. And the mean score per team through week 2, through all 9 games that were played, was 37. So there is a decrease, but that's only a 6 point or 12 points per game. Yeah, so go ahead.
That's a touchdown per team. Less.
Right. Right. Does that make this game less entertaining, so less entertaining that you'd find something else to do with your time? I don't think so.
Look, touchdowns are fun to watch. Home runs are fun to see. Scoring goals is great in hockey. 3-point shots are awesome. Like, all of these things are fun to watch in the moment. But I've got to tell you, one of the things that has kind of chased me away from the NBA over the past few years is that that's all they do now. They run down, they pass around the arc, they run the ball inside, the defense collapses, and then they kick it out and take a 3. That's it. I have just described to you every offensive possession in the NBA.
Unless there's a turnover, unless there's a stop, it's unabated. It's just the track meet, and it's been heading that way.
So while I love high scores, and that's fun to watch, I also like the variety of watching a defensive game like what we saw up in San Jose 2 weekends ago as San Antonio and Bay Area took on each other. And so I'm okay with watching the defense. James Palmer, you forgot that they whine too much. Yes, the flopping and whining in the NBA also drives me crazy. But
thank you, James. Absolutely.
Leo checking in. Hard hits and batted passes are just as fun as touchdowns and long passes. Absolutely. Seeing a big defensive play does the exact same thing for me that seeing a long touchdown pass does. It is exciting. And so I'm okay with it.
So it's something I'm monitoring and I have an interest in. And it ties into my theory that I had about this being the year of the head coach. The other big observation, Philip, I can say is the presumed superiority of Western teams. Okay. That last year we pretty much, any Western team that was top half would absolutely destroy any Eastern team, including their very, very best. That assumption went out the window this week big time as Arizona traveled to Green Bay, and Green Bay, that was their game to lose in the final few moments. They had. Yeah, and they did. And the defending champs were on the freaking ropes. Green Bay looked like the better team all the way through. And basically it took 2 perfect plays at the end by Arizona in order to turn that game around and snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, or in the case of Green Bay, snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, because it was their game to lose. The Eastern champions of last year certainly looked better almost all the way through in that game. Arizona was chasing the whole time.
I want to get deeper into that game a little later in the show because I really want to talk about that final minute or so of that game. It was very interesting. If you have not watched it, you need to go to your IFL network and watch that after the show tonight. It is really an impressive minute of football where it looks like Green Bay has this thing wrapped up. and then they don't. And with 3 seconds left, Arizona takes the lead and ends up securing the win. But I want to talk a little bit because I've got some specific things about that. You were talking about the West being so dominant over the East over the past couple of seasons, but certainly last year, nowhere was that more obvious than in the championship game where Arizona, who was a middle-of-the-road Western team all season long, they hung out in the middle of the pack. They rose right at the right time at the end of the season, stepping on San Antonio on their way into the playoffs. They barely got into the playoffs. And then when they go into the championship game, they absolutely demolish their opponent. Not even close. And it was, do I even remember who they played? Did they play Massachusetts?
They played Massachusetts, the team we beat not once,
and Mass,
not twice, but 3 times.
And Mass was on the top of the Eastern Conference all season long, record-wise. Standings-wise, they were head and shoulders above so much of the Eastern Conference. And then again, like Arizona, this middle-of-the-road sort of Western Conference team just demolishes.
And that was the story of the playoffs last year, was the fact that so many not top seeds won in the first round.
Alex McSwain checking in. Fishers look good. Great turnout for their first home game. Let me tell you something. Fishers Freight looked like a veteran organization out of the box. That is their very first home game. They had a sold-out crowd. Their field looked pristine. Their uniforms, I love their look.
The color combination, that was the subtle.
It's unique. You don't see anything like it anywhere else, and I love it. Their merch, I don't know if you watch the game as they panned around the crowd, because what they had was their Jumbotron feed was their video feed, and then they were using a radio broadcast over the top of it. And so you heard radio commercials, but you saw the crowd as you're listening to their radio commercials. And in the crowd, there were hats, multiple different versions of hats. There was fan jerseys, shirts, T-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts. They had all that ready to go. And so often in this particular area of the sport, we get really spoiled. We get amazing looking merch for every game. But there are other teams out there, I promise you, in the IFL that are blown away by what we do merch-wise, and the idea that on their first game at home, Fishers Freight would have all of this merch ready to go and not say, oh, well, we had supply chain issues, or, we're going to be getting it, but later in the season. Man, they just really looked good.
And more important, Philip, people were buying that. They couldn't have given away that much. No. It looked like a Gunslingers game in that the high percentage of fans in the stands had branded merchandise of some kind or another. And this was the first game. There was no year of history, and they were giving away the all aboard towels. That was their premium for the game, was giving away the towels. Everything else was purchased.
Jordan Stubing, how about the Freight getting featured on the Pat McAfee show? Great press for the league. Always. Anytime we can get in front of the national media, that's always good. And they looked really good right out of the box. Their team on the field also looks very good.
They were impressive, and it's kind of what I expected with a Dixie Wooten team. I wasn't sure if he'd be able to break through like he did, but by golly, they look good on both sides of the ball. Mm-hmm. And they were just solid. They looked like they belonged in the league. There was no error. They were putting pressure on everybody. They won their first game on the road, which was pretty impressive, and then came home and it's like, we're here to win. No apologies. The train's running down the track, and you're going to get run over if you stay on it. And that's exactly what happened. And Fisher's really hot in the East.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think we learned that Tulsa is either very unlucky or their offense has not gelled yet, because their offense looked rough against Fishers. Their offense did not look good against San Antonio either. They ended up taking the win away, but that was not because of their offense. That was our offense not producing, honestly.
We did not take advantage. They were unable to take advantage of the opportunities that they were given. They won by 1 touchdown.
Yep.
They had many more opportunities to convert, and they only managed to win by 1 touchdown. I think my theorem about I'm still holding on to it. There are times I think I don't know anything about this sport at all. And then there are times I think that, I might actually have a clue. And my hypothesis for this season is this is the year of the head coach that can figure it out or has already figured out how to match up using these new rules, and who to match up with to best take advantage of them is going to be the team and is going to be the coach that's going to have the initial advantage. And then other people are going to copy them, but they'll be at least 3 weeks behind. They'll see it, then they'll try to adapt to it, then they'll be able to implement it. The teams that are going to be dominating. And San Antonio has positioned itself, thank goodness, as one of those teams that other people are going to chase.
Right. Jordan Stubing having an established hockey team and transferring into the arena football game is a huge leg up for a new team. We've seen that before.
Tulsa.
That's true. Tulsa is exactly that. And they were able to transfer that over. Leo brings up a point that you may need to answer for here, Leo. He said, didn't Ralph say before the season that we were going to go undefeated here on our show?
Yes, I did. For the same reasons, I believe we're going to do very well. And I really truly felt, and that's a fair criticism, and I did say it, and that's what made me feel like, I guess I don't know anything about indoor football, because I thought that our offense would be, while it might not have been the number 1 or number 2 offense in the league this year, was going to be definitely above the average.
Right.
And all our defense needed to be was average if you have above average offense. And I don't think anyone is going to say that the San Antonio defense at every freaking level is in any way average. I mean, they're just scary what they do. Do you know who's in our secondary? Do you know who our MAC linebacker is? Do you know who our defensive linemen are? And have you noticed the numbers? I mean, unfortunately, you can't notice the numbers because, come on, IFL, you promised us live stats, man. Yeah. Where are the stats? I want to see them numbers. I want to see our guys by the name of Jones. I want to see our all-star secondary. I want to see these guys' names next to defensive player of the week and top leading in all these categories, because they would be.
Right.
Yes, indeed.
Quack, quack.
Indeed, among others.
And while we're taking the IFL to task, which we're not afraid to do on this show, stats, you told us that live stats would be coming. I don't even need live stats, but I need reliable stats after the game. I'm still missing 4 games in the IFL of stats. And the other thing that I'm going to harp on until it shows up on my TV is I need an app on my TV for the IFL network. Look, I streamed most of the games this week from my Xbox, from my browser on my Xbox, and that worked perfectly fine. Can I watch games that way? Yes. Should I have to do this workaround to watch the games that I'm paying for? No. I need an app on my TV. IFL, get it together and let's make this happen. I honestly, I understood when we did not have it going into the season. We are 3 weeks deep in the season now. It should be here by now. Like, this should have happened. But we've taken the IFL to task, and we have talked about some things around the IFL this week that we saw during the bye week. But we really want to start focusing in on the Gunslingers. And to do that, we're going to welcome in the head coach of the Gunslingers, Coach James Fuller. Coach Fuller, how you doing tonight?
I'm all right. How y'all doing?
We're doing good. We're doing good. Hey, anything fun happened this last week? Has anything interesting happened to you in your world over the last week or so?
Let me think. A lot has been going on. Never a great situation, but it's a situation that we're dealing with, and some of that's above my pay grade. I just coach.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about you, because fans know your name. You absolutely embarrassed the San Antonio Gunslingers a couple of seasons ago back in the NAL. You and Henry got together and really just kind of made our season that started off so promising into a rough season.
Ruined it, Coach. Just ruined it.
You did. You ruined the season. We're not mad at you anymore because
Thank you.
You're in the red, white, and blue now. But I want to go back even a little further. You have been around this sport, coaching in this sport for longer. I started doing my research because I research when I'm asking somebody to come on the show. I did not realize you had been coaching in indoor football for 25 years.
27, 26, 27.
Yeah.
I got in 99.
Right.
So season of 99. So yeah, it's around 26, 25 in there. I'm not counting. But it's been great. Yeah, I've been in it, got in it. I fell in it because one of my guys I played with, Stan Brock, all-pro tackle from the San Diego Chargers, had got a team in our town in Portland, Oregon. So when I got done playing for the Eagles, I came back bored, stressed, not knowing what to do with my time, still wanting to play some ball. He was like, "Hey, why don't you come coach with me?" I was like, "Oh, all right. We'll see how this goes, you know." And then I got on with him as a secondary coach in 99 and been kind of building my way up since.
Missions Highlighter, which is one of our regular fans on the show, he's actually one of our Patreon supporters, says he's already bought a Coach Fuller trading card from when you played with the Philadelphia Eagles, found it on eBay, and he wants to get a chance for you to sign that for him. So he will.
Awesome. I didn't know they still had them out there. So I'm kind of a dinosaur, you know.
I got to ask a question. Coach Fuller, I did do my research. I know that in the NFL you had one interception when you were with the Philadelphia Eagles, but I cannot find any information about who or when that was. You remember because it was your one interception in an NFL game. Who was that? When was that? What was that game?
It was 1996 Philadelphia Eagles at the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Coach, it's been great having you on the show.
If you remember that, we end up, I think, getting a better seed than y'all in the playoffs that year.
As a result of that win.
And yeah, we lost to the 49ers and Jerry Rice in San Francisco. And
so was this Buddy Ryan Eagles?
No, it was Ray Rhodes.
Okay. Ray Rhodes. Great defensive coach, Ray Rhodes.
Yeah, Ray Bob. Great guy.
Yeah. Well, let's not talk anymore about you embarrassing my Gunslingers 2 years ago or you embarrassing my Cowboys,
last
3
century
decades ago.
Last century.
Let's not talk about
That's
that
last
anymore. Let's talk about moving forward. You assume control of the coaching duties. This is not new for you. You've been a head coach in several different iterations of indoor football. You did this for Maine, the Mammoths. You coached obviously for the Jacksonville Sharks a few seasons ago, Carolina. In fact, I was very surprised when you were announced as part of our coaching staff that you were going to be an offensive coordinator and an assistant head coach when you would have had head coaching opportunities. Why? What made you decide to take a step back in a way and come to San Antonio? What made that decision for you a couple of years ago?
Well, it was a few things. One was I knew at the time, some people didn't know, but I knew at the time that the NAL was going to go to be like that CIF / NAL, and no disrespect to them, no disrespect to the league. I just didn't want to be a part of that, and there were some things in that last season in Carolina that didn't go so well, left a bad taste in my mouth. So on top of having Coach Nas get with me and give me a good offer, talk to me how great San Antonio was. I love Texas. So it just was kind of a situation where I wanted to, go and be the OC and take a little step back, try to find myself and find a new avenue and keep it moving.
Yeah, you say that you love Texas. You've coached in Texas before. The Dallas Desperados and Dallas Vigilantes are on your coaching resume.
Yep. Great times.
Yeah. I used to go to a couple of Dallas Desperados games, but it was just before you got out there in 06.
Yeah.
It was just before I got married. In fact, my bachelor party was going to a Dallas Desperados game. And I got married in 2004. So it was just before you got there.
Yep.
That you were.
There was great times. We had some really good teams there,
yeah.
You know, and I don't know if many people know this, but my head coach is Will McClay was there. He's one of my best buddies. Him and T. Gray, our O-line coach, were really good friends. They both work for the Cowboys now. Will McClay's the head scout type guy there.
You did wide receivers and defensive backs. So was that the Clint Sterner year?
Was our
Dozell. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he was our quarterback the years I was there. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Great teams.
Well, Coach, what I was most excited about when I heard that you were part of the lineup is I knew that we were going to be inheriting the guy. I know you don't like it when I call you this, but the offensive genius of indoor football, because I love watching the plays that Coach diagrams when I watch them on film. Everyone has a job and everyone executes that job and the play comes off beautifully. We are never going to be unimaginative, uncreative, and extremely predictable. In fact, that's what I think destroyed us in the playoff run is we were predictable, and you and the Cobras, you more or less knew what we were going to do. And it's like, okay, we're going to spoil this. We know what they do in this situation. We're going to spoil this. And that the Gunslingers are not going to be predictable. We don't do the same thing twice. And I think that's what drives people crazy. And that's why, I got called out for saying I thought we were going to win every game this year because I thought the offense was going to be great because you were going to make us great. And between the talent that we had on both sides of the ball, especially on defense, with a dedicated, this is what our defense is going to be, who's going to beat us? And that's why I thought we'd frickin' run the table. I thought we had Tulsa. And, okay, that's over. That's past. But yeah, then we went to Bay Area against a top team, and they were pretty much, they got the first possession, and we traded the bit, and then the second half we pulled ahead. And we pulled ahead and we were staying ahead. We were supposed to win that game by 2 touchdowns, and we had an awkward fumble and they made it a little exciting. And I looked at the tape very carefully, Coach. I don't know. Should we have challenged the fact that our guy who was in position to catch the ball was forward of the 10-yard line and was run into before he could touch the ball? You saw that, I'm sure, in the tape, that we kind of got screwed on the call there. They should have given us the ball on the 9-yard line on that play because there was contact before our guy touched the ball.
Well, I mean, to start off and go to earlier about offensively, I'm not doing nothing anybody else has tried or has done. This is a copycat league. What you do is just try to take something from everybody, which I'm not ashamed to do. If it works, I'm going to
steal it. In radio, that's what we do. If it works, you steal it.
Yeah, and just tweak it a little bit to where I know defenses are weak from being a defensive guy. And it's all the offensive guys that you have that have to buy into a system. There's games where some guys won't get but 2 catches, but then the next game they'll get 8. And you got to have guys on your team that want to buy into a system. We have great guys, on our team. Some have been with me before, and they kind of know how I work. So it kind of works. We're a little bit behind the 8 ball right now, not really having it dialed up. But that's for me to fix, and it's going to get fixed. And I think everybody on the offense knows that we got to do better, especially when you have the defense playing at such a high level right now and getting turnovers, getting stops, making big plays. So we got to match the intensity of the defense now, where last year it was lopsided the other way.
Yes.
As far as the onside kick's concerned, I mean, you could have challenged it. What they were telling us is that he was going for the ball. So once they got to that,
Sure,
you're not going to win it. You know
Right.
what I
What?
mean?
He's going for the ball. So what? It's on the wrong side of the 10. He can't go for the ball, and he
But-
can't play the man, and he did both.
but
Yeah,
Ralph,
well,
at that point, you've introduced subjection into the call, and as soon as subjection is in the call, they're not going to overturn anything.
Right. And I don't know what you had access to and what you could see on the bench. I certainly didn't see it in the play. I only saw it as I'm editing the clips later and I'm watching it. And where am I going to cut? It's like he hit him early. He hit him like a step and a half early.
You can see it when it happens because I immediately jump over the board.
Okay. So
when
you
I
saw
go
it.
right to him and I said he can't hit our player, and he immediately says, "No, he was going for the ball." So it just left it right there.
At that point, it is what it is. To be fair, I do think outside of that one thing, that was probably the best officiating that a
Yes.
Gunslingers game
was
has
good.
ever had in the IFL. In the season plus that we've been in the IFL, they were solid. They were very solid.
It was solid. Now they missed a few holding calls, but holding calls get missed.
That's
You
gonna,
know, in the
those are
trenches.
gonna happen. Like
But
that's
as far
just gonna be
as
hard.
the PIs and the we had a lot of big hits. No flags. So they did a pretty good job at that. And the white cap was he was a very good guy. He explained early that he didn't want to be a part of it. And I can respect that.
We've got some fan questions popping in here. Alex McSwain says, with the what will the shared coaching responsibilities look like now that you're moving forward? Who's doing what? And you didn't add anybody to your coaching staff. We've lost the defensive coordinator and head coach with this move, and you've moved up and stepped in. You're still going to be calling the offense, or are you going to turn that over to Jonathan?
No, I'm going to be calling the offense, the day-to-day stuff. We actually work in tandem anyway. He's been my quarterback for years. So, he knows exactly what I like. So we'll work in tandem during practice. And then games like we always do. He'll take some of the load as far as some of the paperwork stuff, some of the scripts and stuff during the week. Coach LJ is still going to be working with the O-line and D-line and linebackers. And then I'm going to go and help the secondary a little bit some. So we're just kind of bounce it off each other. I'm not one of them guys who think more is better when you have coaches. I just think we got to put in the work. We stay and we grind anyway. So
you're not going to run the 10 coach West Texas Warbird coaching staff out there.
No.
And
even up in Bay Area, they had an ad that they put out announcing their coaching staff, and it was Keith in the middle. You saw this on Twitter or X. It was like this line of coaches, and it's like, we're only sending 4 guys. And you've got all these eyes on everything, but it didn't work out because we still beat your butt, even though you had all these eyes looking at all these things. I can't imagine that Keith had like a switchboard of all this information successfully integrating, helping him make decisions, because it didn't look like it. And on the last play of the game, they screwed up. They screwed up on that last freaking play and had to call that timeout because with all those coaches, they still did not get the right call in to the right people. And they had to make a choice and burn their last time out, and that weakened their position. I love that. I love that about our guys, that we go up there with just a handful and we beat them.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some get back now. They're going to come back with a vengeance, so
right.
I don't want to say nothing crazy right now.
Right.
But another thing is, too, about the coaches, I was just telling our players today, you got to get to a place where we understand each other so you can act like coaches on the field. You got to be able to understand the game plan like I do, understand what they run, understand what they're trying to do. Because when it all comes down to it, I'm not playing.
Right.
I can put you in a position to be successful, but you're eventually going to have to make the play. So if we can get enough guys to buy in and really fall into the game plan itself, and know what's coming at you, you already got guys on the field who are coaches.
Is there anything more maddening as a coach to work something over and over, it to be a focus for the team, and then you get into game day and that player's head just falls apart and they do exactly what you've been working against all week long, and you just want to. I used to have a coach when the 1 year I played Pee Wee football. Our coach got thrown out of the Pee Wee football league because he used to grab us by the face mask and twist our head around. Do you ever just want to grab a face mask of a player and go, what have we talked about all week, all season, all of your life? Why are you doing things the way you're doing them?
I'm not really that style. I kind of give them the stare of death. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Just kind of look at them like, really? Like that? Like, really? Like you guys did that? You know what I mean? And they know, though, if you have conscious guys who understand, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to come to you.
Right.
They're going to say, my bad, coach.
Or they're going to avoid you. I used to love to watch Bill Parcells. When he was mad at somebody, they would go on the other side of the sideline and get back on the sideline as far away from Bill as they could.
Right.
A couple of other fan questions. Joe Ochoa asking, did any of the players have issue with the change that came up over the last week?
They didn't voice it to me.
Okay.
You know, they didn't voice it to me.
Sure.
I know some of the guys had really, really good relationships with Coach Manaz.
Of course. Absolutely.
And that's what I told him. You know, Manaz was good to me. I can't say nothing. You know, he was good to me.
Right.
You know, and so I know some of them, you know, had love for him, you know, as well. So I know it was tough, you know, but I've been in this situation on the opposite end, you know, so I kind of know what both sides are going through, you know, and I don't expect someone to not be friends with someone because they don't work for us anymore, you know.
Absolutely
not how this football fraternity works, you know.
We're all adults here, you know.
Exactly.
Just because you're not hearing our team anymore, it shouldn't mean anything. And especially in indoor football where things move around so much.
Right.
And players that are here this year may not be here next year.
Exactly.
We need to all stay friends in that football fraternity.
And coaches that ruin our playoff runs end up being your coach a few years later.
Sometimes they do.
Hey, it's happened both ways with me too. So
you were talking a second ago about your guys on offense, your receivers. You have kind of a glut of amazing receivers. Leo Lamas, who is normally here on the show with us, but he's not feeling well tonight, says, speaking of offensive guys, what about updates on Naquan and Kali?
We really miss both of them. Everybody knows how dynamic they are.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to bust no news today.
Okay.
They're both getting healthy. You know, I'm praying that they're able to play this weekend, especially because DJ's a little banged up.
I was going to ask about that.
So, you know, we're just trying to figure it out. And, you know, we'll play the guys who are healthy and hopefully we can get them two back because they're a big part of the offense. You know, with DJ with Naquan and Callie and DJ and Gibbons, Austin, we got some nice receivers, you know.
You really
got some receivers. So any group of them, you know, will be solid.
Alex McSwain checking in says it looks like, according to IFL transactions, DJ and Uric are going to be on the IR for a couple of games. How are they doing? How are things?
They're fine. They're fine. DJ we're going to wait to see some things on him. He said today he felt a lot better. Eric's having some issues with a hand and hamstring or something. I think it's a hamstring. So, you know, we'll see how that goes in the next week. But the good thing is the bye week counts. So it's really one game.
Sure. Okay. Great. So now you get ready for Arizona. They're the champions of the league last year. They kind of stepped on San Antonio to get into the playoffs last year. They beat us, and that's the only way they were able to secure their playoff berth last year. What have you noted about Arizona this year? You've been able to watch film and see what kind of team they are. They've done the same to you. What are some things that you're going to be focused on as you go through this week of preparation, getting ready to go out to Arizona?
One thing about them is they're very consistent. They're consistent in what they do. They'll do it regardless of who they play. They have a game plan and they stick to it. They run the ball very well. They can run the ball, and they stay out of long yardage situations, which allows them to eat up the clock, which then allows their defense, if they do get a stop, it puts you behind the 8 ball, have you scratching for points. Offensively or defensively, they play a lot of man coverage. They challenge you to go over the top on them. They'll come down, get in your face. They'll bring the pressure and then force you to complete balls. And that's something you don't see a lot in this league is that team that plays dang near 90% man, 85% man.
Sure.
But they play well. They have a couple good DBs who can cover. Their line is very active. But the thing that sticks out is just they're consistent. They don't really give up a lot of big plays. They make you work for everything. They try to drag you into long downs, and then they're opposite on the offense where they always get you in them short yardage situations, 3rd and 3s, which are tough to deal with.
One of the things that your defense has done really well over the past 2 games, the first part of this season, is contain quarterback play. TJ Edwards is no slouch. He's an absolutely excellent quarterback. And then last week or 2 weeks ago, however you look at that, Jones was absolutely befuddled. He had no idea how to deal with the defense as you move through the game. Dalton Sneed is another really good quarterback coming up that you're going to have to deal with. Same sort of game plan is just containing him and forcing someone else to beat you and not Dalton Sneed.
Yeah, you cannot let Dalton get first downs, continue to get first downs, because that's what they want. They want to put the ball in his hands on 3rd and 4s and 5s, do some zone read stuff and get you guessing. The good thing that our defense did and have been doing, and I told them that today, is they're good tacklers. We're making good tackles. We're not really missing a lot, shooting at the feet. We're hitting people in the mouth and getting them down, and that's we're going to have to continue to do that, because if you can contain a quarterback like Dalton or Sneed, or you can have your way defensively, or at least make them one-dimensional. Sure. And in this game, you can make a team one-dimensional. It works, and that's what teams have been doing to us.
Right.
They've been trying to make us one-dimensional because our running game hasn't been really getting, or our passing game hasn't been getting off. So we got to flip the tables on them that way. But they're a really good team in what they do.
I already know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway because it's part of my job. Any concern right now about Malik Henry?
Yeah, there's always concern. I hold my players to a high standard. Okay. And everybody knows how I feel. If we can't do A and B, how are we going to get C going? And that's where we're struggling with A and B right now. Okay. And I'm not saying I'm in panic mode or anything like that, but It is concerning. Yes, it is concerning, and it's not all his fault. Right. I have to put him in positions to be successful. And it doesn't help when you don't have Kali, you don't have Naquan. DJ gets hurt in the first quarter, so you have 2 running backs playing wide receiver and a quarterback playing wide receiver at one point. It's just so it's not all his fault. And I think the whole offensive unit will look at themselves and say it's not all his fault.
Sure.
We all got to help each other out.
Alex McSwain, who's just killing it with questions, brings up another one that I wanted to ask before we let you go. Speaking of Arizona and running the ball, Keyshawn Harper is coming along and showing out in year 2. He did it at the end of last season as well. What have you noticed click for Harper as he plays year 2 of indoor arena football? He has really come along in a special way. What is it that Keyshawn Harper is doing to grow and matriculate and find his way in this game?
I didn't think he had a huge curve from last year to this year. He came in not understanding the game, not understanding kind of the angles as a running back. When you're running the ball as a running back, being more contained, it's different. You got to put your foot in the ground a little earlier. But he has such good balance. He's tough. He can block, and if he had it his way, he would get 30 carries a game.
I bet.
He would get 30 carries a game.
Yep.
Last week, coach, run the ball, give me the ball, which I like, because I know he's confident. But he's just a very good player and all-around player. He can catch the ball. He can run between the tackles. He can open up and have some speed. He can block. He's a physical guy, So I think the more and more we can get him rolling, the better off we're going to be.
You mentioned that he can catch the ball. That you have it in your book. I hope I'm not giving the opposing teams any extra, but that wheel route that he can come out on, where if they think about him, what they're covering him with is a linebacker, and he's just not going to be contained by a linebacker, and he's going to catch that ball. Made Tulsa look bad a couple of times with that particular play.
Yeah, when he flipped the field, we went from 10 to the 5 going in one play. It's like, oh, he's over here. Oh, there's no one in front of him.
He says he has one of the top 3 hands on the team, and all the receivers get all mad at him. And I mean, I
love his confidence. I love that confidence.
I question that too, but he does have good hands. Really good hands.
They shouldn't get mad at him. They should be asking, wait, what are the top 2? What are the 2 other guys? And he should keep that real quiet. Like, you guys figure out who that is.
If you asked every one of them receivers, you'd get a different answer.
Right.
Top 4 or 5 there. Everyone would have a different answer.
And while we're on Harper, you said he blocks, and I've got to say, when we have our 4 guys doing max protect, when we have that offensive line doing protect, our quarterback's got the time he needs. Yes. We aren't getting forced out. When we roll out, it's either you wanted him to, or he's already had his 3 seconds back there, and he's got his internal clock going off saying it's time to move. And we haven't been the team under pressure, and that has produced the interceptions, are at least, I think, contributed to it. Correct me if I'm wrong here. We've had the better of the pass protection of every team, both teams that we played.
Yeah, we've been protecting really the only pass rush we're getting is when we go empty set and they bring the MAC and we just don't have no one to block for them. That's when most of our pressures come. As far as 3-on-3 and they're dropping everybody into coverage, we're clean. 4-on-4 with Harper in there or CJ.
Nobody's getting through.
We've been clean. We had a couple. They ran a couple stunts on us last week. Maybe got 1 pressure on us off it. 2 actually off it, and got a personal foul on another one. So, we just need to get back on. We just need to keep gassing up our linemen because they're doing a good job, and our D linemen for getting after the quarterback. Like I tell them, protect ours, get after theirs.
As we wrap things up here with you, Coach, I want to throw some rapid-fire questions at you that have virtually nothing to do with football, but I want people to get to know you a little better. This is something RC usually does for us, but she's not feeling well, so it falls to me. I've only got 3 that I want to throw at you real quick. You've been around the sport a long time. Certainly when you played, you probably had a nickname somewhere along the way. What do people call you if they're not calling you Coach Fuller?
Full Metal Jacket.
Explain. Where did that come from?
For one, I love the movie, and then everybody calls me Full.
Okay. Well, okay.
Full. So it just kind of fell in. Or Full House.
Gotcha.
Because I used to play cards all the time.
What is your favorite breakfast taco?
Oh, chorizo, eggs, potatoes. Just had one in the airport on my way home. A little pico on it and a little hot sauce.
Excellent. Top 3 songs on your playlist.
Oh my goodness. Something Al Green. Doesn't matter. Al Green. Probably something Tupac Shakur.
Okay.
And then golly. I don't really have a third. I just say old school R&B.
I like it. I mean, Tupac to Al Green. That's a great spectrum.
Yes.
That's a nice broad spectrum.
Yes.
Lots of music that falls in there.
Okay, old school R&B. What band?
What you want? Isley Brothers. Let's see. What was I listening to today? I like Gladys. I like the OJs.
Yeah.
James Cook. Gosh,
Everybody likes Earth, Wind, and Fire too.
Miles.
Yeah.
You know, I'm an old soul. I'm an old Army brat, so I used to hang around with all my dad's old GI buddies. You know, before he had a little juke joint, and I used to go in and fill all the sodas and listen to all the music while they set up before the evening. Before I got kicked out, before all the bad stuff happened.
Well, Coach, we really appreciate you taking some time and spending with us. Alex McSwain, who's been checking in with us the whole time we've been talking to you, says he's excited, feels great knowing that the team is in good hands. I think we can all echo that. We're very excited about the future of the Gunslingers.
Appreciate you, Alex.
And I hope this isn't the only time we have you come on the Smoking Guns. We want to have you again, certainly when Leo and RC are feeling better. I know they'll want to talk to you and get to know, and we'll be celebrating some Gunslingers wins here shortly as we move into this back half of this month away from the Freeman Coliseum that we have to deal with before we get in and get into some sort of rhythm.
Right.
Really appreciate your time, Coach, and we're all behind you. We're all cheering for you. Guns up. Absolutely.
Appreciate you. Thank y'all. Have a good one.
He's head coach James Fuller, and he's taking over for the San Antonio Gunslingers as we move into the next part of the season. And the next part of that season, Ralph, is still the road. We've got more road games that we have to fight through, 3 more before we ever get back here to the Freeman Coliseum. So let's start talking a little bit about Coach Fuller. What did you hear? What excited you? What interested you about Coach Fuller as we've been talking to him for almost 30 minutes, almost a half hour that he gave us? What did you pick up there?
100% looking forward, 100% in control, 100% has a plan. The only good news in all of this was the bye week gave him a chance, but I don't see a difference. We asked him on Branded, what did we expect to see, or what would the fans see that was different? And his response summed it up very nicely. Not a lot. You're not going to see a lot of difference. So I don't see that we're going to feel disorganized on defense and not quite ready on offense and not able to handle the personnel issues, that there is any doubt that the Gunslingers are going to come out of this as they would have come out of it, regardless of changes, that they're going to come out solid, and we're in good hands. Coach talked about the fraternity of football. You got to be on the inside to know that, and I'm not on the inside, but all these guys know each other and respect each other. And yes, you play for this team this year, but we could play together in the future. What has brought so many players to San Antonio is that interconnectivity, and Coach Fuller is a big part of that interconnectivity. In joining us here, he's brought players and reinforced players that were already here's decision to come here and getting that system. The genius that is Coach Fuller is, like he said, that we could have the number 1 receiver in the league. And that number 1 receiver,
we do.
If that is, yes, we do. And probably the number 2 and the number 3 as well. If they all had different quarterbacks and played on different teams, we would have the top 5 receivers in the league, because any one of them would be a star. But the difference is that number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 receiver, if the defense becomes so interested in them, Coach Fuller will immediately see that and put together a package to say, okay, sure, double up on him. We're going to scorch you in another way, and we're going to take advantage of it, and we're going to put you in a position where you cannot win no matter who you try to cover, because we have too much talent. We have too much time blocking, because we have great pass defender, great pass rush defenders, great work downfield. Is it going to be Harper coming out? Is it going to be any one of the receivers on any given route? We're smart, we're talented, and yeah, we should win every game this year. Oh, okay. The prediction doesn't work this time, but we should be definitely a consideration. And I'm putting this to the test coming up this weekend, because we're going into the Champions Place, We are going into Glendale, into the Desert Diamond Arena to face at home the Rattlers.
Yep.
And again, we are more than a touchdown not favorite in this game. And we were a 7.5 dog in Bay Area. So
I have
what?
never been somebody that watches betting lines very closely. It's just not something that I put a lot of stock in. But this year in the IFL, I've been, I see them because they're there. If you think betting lines are in any way reliable, you have not been watching the IFL this season.
If you think the guys in Vegas know more than you, the fans, you haven't been watching the IFL.
A couple of people on Coach Fuller. Dolores Yamas says, sounds like we have a really cool coach. I would tend to agree with that. And then her hubby, Leo, says, love and appreciate the real and matter-of-fact responses we got from Coach Fuller. This is what I picked up on. This is exactly what I picked on, and Leo and I are very similar in a lot of ways. That's why we work so well together here on the Smoking Guns podcast. When I asked Coach Fuller if there is any concern about Malik Henry, the correct coach speak answer is, come on, Malik Henry's a professional. He's going to be fine. I'm not worried about him at all. That is the coach speak answer that you're supposed to give, that I was supposed to get. In fact, I think I prefaced that question saying, I already know
what you were going to get
say here, but I got to ask this question.
Yep.
And that's what that's the answer you're supposed to get. But Coach Fuller is not pulling any punches with you. And he says, sure, yeah, there's some concerns. Things are not going as well as we had hoped they would. They'll get better. You can tell that he trusts Malik and that he is okay. He said, no need to panic. I'm not panicking, but yeah, there's some concern. What are we doing and how do we fix it? And Leo brings up a great point. He did it with no hesitation. He didn't hem and haw. He just immediately said, sure, yeah, there are some concerns. He gave me not the typical answer, and he didn't hedge or pretend it was something it wasn't. And I really appreciate that. I'm not saying we haven't gotten that before for coaches. I don't want anybody to feel like I'm throwing shade at anybody specifically.
No,
that is not the typical answer you get. And the way that he answered that and said, sure, yeah, there's concern and we're going to fix it.
So
I
fans,
like that. I appreciate that.
So the fans, to you, the fans that are watching, you need to recognize that this is not the common, this is not the average, this is not the normal, that we have an exceptional coach at the helm right now. Come out and support him. Come out and buy tickets. Be a full-throated supporter of the Gunslingers. We're nowhere near done. Matter of fact, we haven't even started yet.
No, yeah. And this is this coaching change will be a story until their first win after the coaching change. From that point on, it'll be business as usual.
Yep.
If they go to Arizona and they get beat for whatever reason, and I don't expect that to happen, but if we end up losing in Arizona, that will kick up a little dust on this coaching change, and there will be people that are like, maybe this is the cracks beginning to show now that they've lost Tamanas and all of those things. That will happen. It won't happen here on this show, but it will happen. There will be some folks that use that sort of moment to kick things up. But as soon as they win their first game, we won't even mention Tamanas's name anymore because it'll be business as usual. That's not to take anything away from Tamanas. He is still the guy that put all of this personnel in place, and we know that, and we're appreciative of that. And but at this point, we're moving forward with Coach Fuller, and until or once we start seeing winning football, Manas will not be a story anymore.
Well, I will tell you. I will tell you this: in the world of leadership, the ultimate and final task of a leader is to prepare and ensure your replacement is ready to go should you fall or falter. And as a final out the door to the Gunslingers organization, it is apparent to me that Tamanas did that duty, that he gave us a coach that is going to step up and is going to continue. And we're in good shape. We're in very, very good shape, better than most, because I got to tell you, historically, when people get to choose their replacement, they often, for whatever reason, subconsciously or otherwise, choose somebody that'll always make them look good in retrospect. And that is not the case here at all. Not at all.
I think, to be fair to Tom, to Tom and us, I think he would have told you at any point over the last 18 weeks that he was here. I'm sorry, 18 months that he was here. That he got very lucky in getting Coach James Fuller to be on his staff, and that James Fuller was a head coach. He was lucky enough to have him on his staff, but James could absolutely be a head coach anywhere he wanted to be a head coach. I don't know Tom super well, but I know him well enough to know that he believed in James Fuller, and even as he exited, said this team is going to be in very good hands. Now that I've had a chance to talk to him and spend some time with him, with James Fuller, I agree. I think we're in very good hands. I've seen his results on the field before, unfortunately, for my team.
We got to let that go at some point.
When he wins games, when he wins games for the Gunslingers, I'll take.
When we win a playoff game, yes. When we win a ring, oh, absolutely.
I'll never forgive him for this interception. I'm going to go back and find this interception. Now that I know it was against Dallas, I have to go back and find this interception, and lock it down and just be upset for the rest of my life that he hurt our playoff seeding in 1992 or whatever that was. I'm perfectly. It's funny getting to do this show over the past 5 years and be around with this team. I have seen, this is now our 5th head coach. We started with Tony Hernandez. We moved to Quentin Humphrey. In the offseason, they hired Fred Shaw. He was here for 2 seasons. Tom Manas after Fred Shaw, and now James Fuller. So I have gotten the opportunity with every one of those coaches to get to know them early on in their coach, to interview them and spend some time with them like we did tonight. Some of them I've gotten to know really, really well in that time. Some of them were very standoffish and very
it's hard. It's hard to be
it's a hard deal. It's difficult, and you don't know when you're dealing with media, which unfortunately is where we are. You don't know how close you want to get to media because you don't know what their story is going to be. Are they going to blame you when things go wrong?
And even worse. Let's say things start going on. Well, if he'd spent a lot less time talking to podcasts and more time working on his team, then maybe we wouldn't be in this situation. I mean, that's an accusation that every coach that spends even 1 second talking to somebody is open to.
I have been inspired by head coaches. I've been friendly with head coaches. I felt like I was persona non grata with some of these coaches. In the short time that we got a chance here to meet and get to know James Fuller, I feel optimistic. I think this is the right guy to lead us at this moment, at this time. And I am very impressed and happy, which is a weird word to use. It seems like a child's word, but I'm happy that when they made this decision to promote James Fuller to be the head coach, that they did not do it with an interim tag. Yep. This is James Fuller's team. And in the offseason, will they reevaluate? Well, of course, they will every offseason. No matter what tag is on the coach, whether he's the interim head coach or the head coach, every offseason they'll reevaluate because that's what you do. But there's no reason to believe that James Fuller is just going to be your coach through the rest of this season, and then he's going to go off and be the offensive coordinator in Omaha or down in Jacksonville or something. And I'm happy about that. I'm happy that we have some stability because working under a coach with an interim tag it feels a little lame ducky, and we're kind of giving up on the season, and that is clearly not the signal that the San Antonio Gunslingers are sending
And for the interim coach, it's tough. It's like, what do I got to do?
Right.
What do I got to do? I'm doing everything the 9 to 5. I'm doing everything. It's not 9 to 5, of course, but I'm doing everything that's required to make this happen. And I'm just the placeholder.
Right.
Nah.
Right. So that is Coach Fuller. That's our impressions on him. Great interview. I look forward to having him on the show more. I look forward to having him when RC and Leo are here. I know that they both want to get an opportunity to talk to him, get to know him, and move forward into the season.
And the man likes the spicy taco. I'm sorry.
Chorizo.
Yeah, he likes chorizo with hot sauce. I mean...
Let's swing back around and start talking about some of these games that we saw this weekend. Obviously, the San Antonio Gunslingers not in action on their first bye week of the season, but there were some notes, some things that I took away from the games this week. Let's start with a game we've already talked a little bit about, but it is our next opponent. It's the Arizona Rattlers going out to Green Bay and securing a win in the last 3 seconds of the game, a game that Green Bay absolutely should have won. And Ralph, you and I were talking about this earlier today because we're always in almost constant communication with one another. We were talking about this earlier today, and the game, for those of you that didn't watch, in the last minute of the game, Arizona has the ball after scoring and securing an onside kick. They have the ball, and on third down, they throw an incomplete pass. Yes, Ralph, am I correct on this?
Right. It was an incomplete, and they had a holding call.
Yes, there's a holding call on the Arizona Rattlers, and they've thrown an incomplete pass. So your choices as the head coach, as you get to make this decision, if you're in Green Bay, is I can put them 4th and 10, and they are back on like their own 14-yard line. Like
15?
they're back.
Yeah.
So I can put 4th and 10, or I can back them up, and I think it ended up being a 3rd and 17 based on where the flag was dropped.
Actually, I'm pretty sure it was 3rd and 20 because they had 3 incompletions. I think there was a tip and a throwaway, and on that one was another throwaway with a holding call. The Green Bay defense had done their job up to that point to make this Arizona was not experiencing success. Arizona was out of timeouts, I believe, at that point. And so they were trying to manage a drive in desperation. When they got that ball, they had a chance, and they were not moving. They were not executing. And they gave them another down.
Right. And because they gave them another down. Now, look, maybe on 4th down, Arizona is able to make something happen. I just personally, and I'm not trying to impugn a head coach and say you made the wrong decision. Like, you made the decision you made. But I personally would rather give you less opportunities to continue your drive at that stage of the game than push you back 7 or 10 yards or whatever it was. To me, the chances to get the first down are much more valuable than the yardage. And so I would have declined the penalty. And as I watched the game, I sat there and said, I don't know that I would have done that. I would have declined the penalty. Arizona ends up scoring, 3 seconds left on the clock. They end up winning the game. Let's take it from there. Okay.
Okay, so their option 1 was to immediately kick the field goal to tie the game. The odds were not particularly great.
No.
But you had 3 straight incompletions, unsuccessful plays. And the cliche would have been said at that point. It all came down to this. For the Rattlers on that play, they would have had to have gotten a completion, not only for 10 yards, but 10 yards and stop the clock. That's harder to do.
Clock stops as the chains are moving. They made great use of that time.
Right. And so that's all the stop they would have gotten, and they would have had to run to the line and would have had to make a big hurried freaking deal out of it. As it was, huge completion, longer movement for the chain. They were all ready to spike the ball, and that gave them what they needed. to run out the clock. They had a couple more plays, I think, to set up, and then boom, they got the score with 3 seconds left on the clock. You gave the Rattlers the initiative and control the situation. 4th and 10, they had to. They had to execute perfectly. They were still, even if they'd gotten that,
Right.
they were still around the 20. They were around midfield with that first down. They were not ready to immediately kick. It wouldn't have improved their situation. It just, the desperation and the pressure would have remained on Arizona. By allowing them 2 plays, okay, I've got some options. I can throw underneath and put the ball over the wall and get half of the way there. I can make you think I'm going to do that and go deep, which is what they did. And we're going to try to stop the clock, because you're going to leave past the 10, past the sticks, past the line to gain. You're not really terribly worried about midfield just past that. So that's what the Rattlers attacked.
Right.
And that's exactly what they got, because they got the first down on that next play. And it's kind of what you'd expect. Arizona's got a great offense. You stop them for 3 plays in a row. Do you really think you're going to stop them for 4 in a row?
5.
How strong do you believe your luck is, really?
Well, now you're going to have to stop them 5. So you've stopped them 3 in a row, but that third one has a penalty on it. So do you think you have a better chance of stopping them 4 in a row? You decline the penalty, they're on 4th down, or 5 in a row? Because now they're going to have 2 shots at it. And remember, in this particular version of the sport, you can score on any play. So you give them more arrows in the quiver when you take the penalty, because pushing them back 10 yards does not necessarily mean you've made it harder to score a touchdown.
Yeah, they have the Rattlers were competing against the clock, the blizzard, and the score at that point.
Right.
They had 3 opponents that they had to beat. The last one is going to be the score. Right. And you basically said, okay, we no longer have to worry about the down and distance because we're late in the game. Don't do that. I mean, again, I'm not an expert. Let's see what Alex McSwain has to say.
He says, I'm probably more attentive to uniforms than other fans, but Arizona's road form is ugly. I'm not just saying that because we play them next. I'll be honest with you, Alex. I agree. I really like Arizona. It is the, I've mentioned this before on the show, it is the indoor football team that I gravitated toward when the Arena Football League really started gaining attention, because my hero as a child was Danny White. He was quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, and he was a longtime head coach and general manager for the Arizona Rattlers. And so I didn't have a team in the Dallas area that was consistent, but Arizona was always there, and Danny White was a part of that. He later went on to be a commentator for them for a while. I think he's still in some way involved with the franchise, although I'm not sure. But I agree with you. The white helmets, the white shirt, the black pants, it just looks boring. It just looks boring to me. And I'm not a big fan of numbers on one side and the logo on the other. Like, I don't like that. I don't like Pittsburgh's logo on one side of their helmet. I think all of that is I'm not a big fan. I wasn't a big fan. It was the one thing about the San Antonio Commanders I didn't really like, is we had a logo and a number. And I wasn't really a big fan of that. But I agree with you. I think in the indoor football, in this expression of the sport, have fun with your uniforms. Stop trying to look like any other high school, college, NFL team with your uniform. Be bold. That's what I like about Fisher Freight so much, is it's different. It's unique. It is its own. It's one of the things I really love about San Antonio with the barbed wire helmet stripe and pants stripe this year, I think is a barbed wire, not barbed wire, barbed wire. Have fun with your uniform. Enjoy it. And they're not having a whole lot of fun with that road uniform. I agree.
I would, I'll disagree on one point here. It's a market research thing, I suppose, that the iconic look, like you see with the NFL uniforms, that clear, iconic look actually appeals to a certain demographic, whereas the creative, new, fresh, wild appears to a different demographic. And it really depends on which demographic you are going for. And I'm more of a fan of the classic and iconic, but I'm not in charge. And honestly, if you want to look on a uniform, contact your team and sign up to be a uniform sponsor, and they'll be happy to take your money, and they'll be happy to let you design something, as long as you do not do what the Fayetteville Mustangs were going to do to us with the faded uniform and the cross-faded green to blue on a blue background with a little silver strip. Please don't ever do that to anyone again. It was bad enough with the Cobras with silver on gray with a white border.
Just realize when you put a jersey together for your football team that people have to be able to read that number and that name from a long way away. And think about that and understand.
Read it when it's scrunched up, when it's the uniform's pulled up and all wrinkled, and yeah.
It's so
have pity on us poor announcers.
Please feel sorry for us that get this awesome job.
It's not
of watching.
It's not about us,
talking
Phil.
About.
It's not about us, Phil. We don't get any say whatsoever.
So Arizona beats the Green Bay Blizzard. They move to 2-0, and now they will take on the San Antonio Gunslingers. I will tell you that they have played Tucson and Green Bay. I watched the Green Bay game. I don't think I watched the Tucson game because I knew how that was going to go. And I don't think they've played a defense on anywhere near our level yet. I don't think they've seen a defense like the defense that we're going to run out there on Saturday night against them.
If they did, it would be in Green Bay, and they struggled against Green Bay. And
51 points. They didn't struggle that much.
Well, but the best two parts, I'm just going to talk a little bit of smack here. The best part of the Green Bay defense and the best part of the Tulsa defense both wear Gunslinger uniforms. Their defensive player of the year out of Green Bay, and the 2 years in a row all IFL leading all tacklers league-wide MAC linebacker wears a Gunslinger uniform, and his last name is Jones.
Right.
And, Rivarius and Jones and Duck and every other star that I could name. Collier down there now on the line because the other Jones may be out.
Jones looks like he'll be out, but that's a bummer.
Yeah, but holy crud. They saw a decent defense, a pretty solid defense in Green Bay. Green Bay's known for their defense, but all the pieces in one place. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we talked about what this game means, how this game is played, how it turns out, what the score will be in the end. I think we're going to be entertaining in the Desert Diamond. I don't think the game is going to be anywhere near the margin that they described. I don't see us trailing by more than a touchdown. I don't see that line at all. I see us going in there and shocking the crud out of them. And putting everyone on notice. And it's like, okay, eventually someone's got to accept the Gunslingers are for real, because we are.
Right. I agree. The other thing I wanted to bring up, I know you're going to have to leave us here in a second. And it's going to be me all by my lonesome.
You got this.
Save your comments so that we have something to talk about here in a few minutes, as Ralph has to go here at 8:30. But Bay Area Panthers go stay home again, play San Diego, and absolutely dismantle the Strike Force, 41-18. That's the team that you beat last week. That could not get their offense figured out. That your defense absolutely flabbergasted their quarterback Jones. So what does that mean? I think that means we talked earlier in the season about with Tulsa and San Antonio. I don't really know what either of these teams are because it's only 1 week. Well, now we have 3 weeks worth of data. And I can look at Bay Area and go, look, they are dismantling other teams. Now, does that mean San Diego's just not very good? Maybe. But even in that case, Bay Area is able to put 41 on the board against San Diego, only able to put up 21 against the Gunslingers. We get the offense figured out. Man.
And the only reason they had that second touchdown, did we not blank them entirely in the third quarter? The only reason they got that touchdown was a unfortunate around the 20-yard line fumble that they managed to recover. Great hit, great recovery.
Right.
All good, all legit there, clean football. But that was just really, really, really unfortunate because we had them doubled up. It was 28-14. It was 28-14 at the start of the fourth quarter. We'd shut them down. All we needed was a long drive, and we had a fumble, and we had an onside recovery by the kicking team. Right there, 2 possessions given back, and still they could only get 1 touchdown.
Right.
Out of 2 of there when it counted. Defense took care of business.
Ralph, before you go really quickly, Alex McSwain is wondering if you, who are more connected than I am to the Gunslingers, have heard any word on a watch party this weekend?
I do not know. I can only refer to the fact that James Stubing, when he was on Branded last week, said, yeah, we were a little tired, and I would expect to hear something fairly soon on that issue. If not, I don't know. Fans need to go ahead and say where they want to go, and all you need to do is bring your login to the IFL network, and wherever you go, there's the party. We don't have to worry about, hey, I don't know how to log into YouTube. We can go wherever the heck we want and watch it wherever we want.
And Wednesday, what do you got coming up on Branded?
Well, it's going to be a special edition. Jordan Stubing is going to be the guest host. And we will have either Coach Fuller or perhaps even Jonathan Bain breaking down the key plays on the offense and defense, and a couple other surprises thrown in there as well. And it'll be a surprise to me because I'm not entirely clear myself. But it's been fun as Branded goes in a different direction. Oh yeah, there's the other one. Yeah, just recently added, not yet confirmed. This guy Philip Higginbotham is going to come on, and we're going to talk about the relationship between these 2 shows. And I'll say it here, spoilers, those who are watching now and don't watch later. There it is, Jordan Stubing. There's the news, Sidelines Restaurant. And
breaking news. Nobody knows what that is anymore.
Yeah, no one watches network anymore. Yeah.
Breaking news, Sidelines Restaurant.
Yep.
Oh, James Palmer says we get enough of Philip on Mondays. That's true, you do.
Yeah, but it's special. It's special. And spoilers for that. The answer is, yeah, you do need to watch both shows. If you are a true Gunslinger fan, if you have taken the Gunslinger Oath of Allegiance, you will certainly watch both shows.
Absolutely, 100%. And hey, does anybody notice the fact that Brandon went through a change, and on its second show, I'll be there? Interesting how things work out sometimes.
Coincidence.
What a coincidence.
Think not.
Ralph, we'll see you on Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us and carrying the bulk of the show with me and talking to James Fuller with me. Appreciate you. We will see you on Wednesday night on Branded, and I'm sure I'll talk to you between now and then.
Guns up,
sir, and we will talk to you later. Go do whatever it is you got to do. All right, so you just get me. Wow, that's all me. You get nothing but me. Sorry about that. I'm not sorry about it. You're here, you're watching, and we're talking about the Gunslingers. What are you wondering about? You've heard from Coach Fuller. You know what we're facing in Arizona here in just a few days. What are the things that you're thinking about, concerned about, that you want to see? We'll talk about it. We'll figure it out here in the next few minutes. Also, your bull spit and bullseye. We didn't really have a game this week, but many of you are watching the IFL and keeping track of things around the IFL. So maybe you still have some things that you love and some things that you don't as far as San Antonio football is concerned. James Palmer says maybe some game clips or something, right? That would be nice if I had that queued up, but of course I don't. So what does it mean that the Bay Area Panthers start their season against San Antonio Gunslingers, can only manage 21 points. And then they go, they stay at home again. They welcome in San Diego, and they absolutely dismantle San Diego 41-18. Remember that San Diego just the week before played Vegas, and it was a 1-point, very close game, 43-42. So San Diego knows how to score points. They have a very good quarterback in Nate Davis, but they were only able to put 18 against the Panthers, and we didn't shut them out, but we only let them score 21 points. And Ralph brings up a great point that 7 of that was that fumble. James Palmer says, any given Saturday, I guess you could say there's some of that to it, obviously. Alex McSwain, thoughts on East and West being more balanced this year? I think we need a little more data. Ralph mentioned this early in the show, that he sees the disparity going away. I think that's probably the case, but I'm one of those people that needs a little more data before I could say, oh, yeah, that's definitely the case. I do, however, see a top and bottom of both. I pulled up the standings here. Quad City's 3-0. Fisher's Freight is 2-0. Jacksonville is 2-0. Jacksonville, by the way, congratulations to them. They're looking like a real football team. Way to go, guys. And then Green Bay at 1-2, Tulsa at 1-1. And then you got Iowa and Massachusetts, who have both not only, winless so far, but look bad. Iowa should have gotten beat by a lot more than they were beat by this week. That was the only game going on Friday night. I watched that game, Iowa and who were they playing? Oh, Quad City. And 52-38 was the final score of that game. It should have been worse. It should have been worse than that. I think the quarterback threw 4 interceptions, something like that. So that is in the East. And then down here in the West, you've got Arizona at 2-0. We'll see how that goes after a week. You've got us at 1-1, Vegas at 1-1, Bay Area at 1-1. And then Northern Arizona, San Diego, and Tucson all winless so far. So I don't know if we're going to have an East-West issue so much this year as a top and bottom in both of these. I think you may see some separation, which we did not have as much last year. There was one team in the West that was down at the bottom. That was Tucson. The rest of them were all in that same sort of area, it felt like, except for Frisco. Frisco was kind of up there at the top, if I remember correctly. James Palmer says, yeah, Arizona should be 1-1, but oh well. They did it when it counted, and Green Bay gave it away, but that's the case. Alex McSwain says, I think the Panthers overlooked the Gunslingers, and Gunslingers showed that they are a force. I don't know that they overlooked it. Your first game of the season, you had lots of time to prepare for that opponent, and you got to look at them on film, but they don't have a look at you. Everything was in Bay Area's wheelhouse. They were at home. They were fresh. We were not. They had film on us. We didn't have any film on them. Like, I think when you really look at the markers of that game, Bay Area should have won that game. This is why you play the games. This is why it doesn't all happen on paper. But when you look at all the things Bay Area had going for it, it really couldn't have asked for a better situation. And that's not the way that ended up working out. And I think that means something for the Gunslingers. Uric to the IR, Leo says, I don't like that. Don't like DJ either. Obviously, we sort of knew about DJ with the, I'm guessing a head injury. I probably shouldn't guess. But yeah, DJ is going to be on IR for at least a week. I did like that Coach Fuller clarified that for us a little bit and said, hey, they went on IR and the bye week counts, and they went on the IR before that. So it's a mandatory 2-week period on that IR. But one of those weeks was taken up by the bye week. So we could see both of them come back after Arizona. Just trying to keep track of all your comments here. Jacksonville doing it with only 8 guys on the field. Didn't need their 9th man. Not yet, but who knows? James Palmer right there with me says the 9th man is waiting for San Antonio to come in. I think that may be true. Arizona's beatable. Green Bay should have beat them, and I don't think that the Gunslingers are any worse than Green Bay, so they're beatable. The two teams that they beat, they being Arizona, is Tucson. Tucson's just not looking really good right now. They haven't looked good any of the time that we've been in the IFL so far. So they're struggling. And then they snatched they stole one from Green Bay. Does that mean they're a 2-0 team, or are they going to be a 2-1 and we're going to be a 2-1 team at the end of the weekend? I hope so. I think somebody said it earlier. I can't scroll up right now because I don't have somebody else to talk while I look. But somebody said something earlier about the Gunslingers are I lost it. This happens when you're doing a show on your own. Alex McSwain says, kind of glad the show is all on the Gunslingers because the promise are depressing to watch. You struck the nail on the head. You picked the perfect word for it, depressing. I watched the game yesterday. I watched a lot more of it than I wanted to. I watched the San Antonio Brahmas go into St. Louis and just look bad. Kellen Mond is not the guy. Like, we gotta start looking for a different quarterback. I don't see anything that impresses me about nothing that impresses me about Kellen Mond. But that is only part of the concern because it seems like the entire team is just listless and just kind of floating through things. And the two games they've played, they don't look good. And I don't think they're who knows? It's a long season, I guess, 10 weeks in the season. But it is it's bad. It has not been good. And I don't think it's going to get a lot better unless they make some big changes. And Leo and I were talking about this during the game as we were texting back and forth, and says, and he said, Wade Phillips is not a guy that makes changes. We know that. We've both watched him in the NFL. We've watched him here in the UFL, and he's not a guy that makes changes. I found the comment I was looking for. It was from Batman84, which I suspect was James Palmer, but maybe it's not. What if our offense comes out on all cylinders and the defense continues to remain where it is? That is the key as we move our way through this part of the season. We need to be concentrating on this idea that the defense is where it is, and if it can retain some of its shape, even though Tom Manas has left, if it can retain some of its potency, and I don't expect that it can't. We've got Yorick Jones. We've got Jordan Jones. We've got Clifton Duck. We've got Ravarius Rivers. All those guys are still there. They're the ones actually making the plays. If that stays and keeps its shape and the offense gels together and you have Malik Henry get on a more comfortable basis with DJ Myers, you get Naquan Murray back, you get Kali Rashad back, you have Austin Upshaw, who has done an incredible job in the first two games of the season. Boom. Like, the defense is great. The offense can get better. We all expect it to do so. I am not seeing any red flags on the offense. They just aren't all on the same page or together yet. It doesn't look like Malik's having to run for his life. It doesn't look like the quarterback and the receivers are just completely on different ends of the spectrum as far as what they're expecting from one another. So yeah, if that happens, if our offense starts getting better and our defense retains its shape, we're going to be really, really good. Special teams has a lot of potential. You guys are talking right now about excited about the kicker and the thicker kicker. I brought that up on Branded last week, and they said I can call him that, but they're not going to call him that. I hope he knows that's in jest and that's for fun. Leo, the Bravos look so bad. They're undisciplined and lax. Yeah, they don't. They don't look like they care to win. They don't look like they care to play. They just kind of look like, well, we're going to go out there and run the plays we're supposed to run. But if that doesn't work, like, whatever. It's really disappointing. This is a championship team last year. This is a team that went to the championship game. I guess they didn't win a championship. James Palmer blames it on that other quarterback rubbing off on him. I would love to blame this on Chase Garbers, but because I got no love for that guy, but I don't think we can do that. I don't think that this is Chase Garbers. James Palmer says Callie gets a kickoff return in his first game back. Boy, that would be fun. That would be so fun. And there is some really good blocking happening on kick returns so far for the San Antonio Gunslingers, which is not something that we were really all that great at last year. I don't know if you remember or not. So as we get prepared for the Gunslingers to return, hey, it's a long way off. We've still got 3 weeks, 2 weeks. Now I got to look at the schedule. I had this all ready to go. And I got to look at our schedule one more time. San Antonio Gunslingers and schedule. See, this is less fun when I don't have somebody to talk to. Because right now, Leo would be talking to you. And I would be looking up information. We have Arizona that we have to play this week. And then Easter weekend, we play Tulsa. And then we're back home. So we got 2 more games. 26th, is the next home game. I knew the date. I just didn't know how many weeks were between then and now. We'll be back in 3 weeks. And when we come back, we will be celebrating one of the coolest things that we do in San Antonio. One of the things that I didn't know anything about until I moved to South Texas, and that is Fiesta. And you may have already seen this on Branded. They premiered this last week, which ticked me off because we're supposed to get to show you all the cool stuff before they do it on Branded. Leo says right now Leo would be hacking and coughing in everybody's ear. So maybe it's better that you don't have to listen to that. Jordan has put together another great Fiesta jersey. I will tell you that the first time I recognized Jordan's prowess at putting together these awesome jerseys was Fiesta. That's the very first one that I bought, and I still have in my closet. And now they've got a 2025 Fiesta jersey. I'm going to share it with you now. If you didn't get a chance to see it on Branded, then you will get to see it now. Here is the 2025 San Antonio Gunslingers Fiesta jersey. Feast your eyes on that. The crossed guns with the rose. It's got a very almost tattoo sort of look to it. The sombrero on your gunslinger. And then down in the bottom corner on the back, or down on the bottom of the back, you have that, I don't know what they call them. This is where I really need Leo because he is so much more connected into South Texas. He is from here. I just got transplanted here. But look at that. I mean, just beautiful. I love the rose and cross guns have a blue glow to them or a turquoise glow to them. Loving that. Looks good. If you didn't get a chance to see this on Branded on Wednesday, now you get a chance to see it now and get your $45 ready. I think they're still $45. Somebody correct me if they've gone up or down on the price for the jerseys. But there you go. San Antonio Gunslingers. Missions Highlighter says, is that yellow rose or a red rose? I would call it like one of those fire roses. It's got the yellow tips or the orange tips, and then as you get closer into the heart of the rose, it's transitioning to red. Leo Yamas telling me what that thing is called down there at the bottom of the back of the jersey, and now he's telling you too. James Palmer doesn't like that it's white. I get that. I understand that. But overall, it's the details that Jordan is so good at. If you notice, you can still see the sugar skull sort of embedded underneath. Leo, once again, still feels the money flying out of his pocket as we speak. Yep. I imagine that will be one that Leo will be in line for very quickly when he gets to the stadium there on the 26th. So many of us will have that jersey and be rocking that jersey. I should start wearing jerseys to call the game. Like right now, we dress up. I have a sport jacket on and a button-up shirt and look all professional. But I'm up there in the nosebleed area that nobody sees me. I should totally wear a jersey. Leo will have to get 3 of them. He will certainly have to buy one for him, and I'm sure he will buy one for Dolores. But I don't know where you get to 3. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're right. So they look great, and that's what we can look forward to here in just a few weeks as we gather again together at the Freeman Coliseum to take on Vegas. So we got Arizona coming, or we're going out to Arizona. Oh, one of them is for Philip. I got you. Maybe I can get there before the rest of the fans get there because I get there pretty early. Maybe I can get my merch and get my own, and not have to send Leo to get my stuff for me. Because Philip will be calling the game. Yes. Yeah, we got it all figured out. Alex McSway, Jordan just outdoes himself year after year. One of my favorite things when I see Jordan's name pop up on my watch, because I get all my text messages to my watch and I'll see Jordan pop up. And if it's an image, I got an old iWatch. It doesn't show me the image. It just says you have an image from Jordan Stubing. Check it on your phone to see it. And I always get really excited because I'm like, oh, I know what this is. This is some cool merch. So he does. He keeps putting it out. Jesse will be attending his first game, so James may not be wrong. So maybe he will have to get 3 of those jerseys. Let's talk a little bit about, we've talked about Arizona. Let's talk about Vegas. Vegas played against San Diego 2 weeks ago. Same time we were playing Bay Area. They were playing against, it was the next day. It was a Monday night game. In fact, we were doing the show. 43-42, they beat San Diego. And then they've been off again this week. No, they weren't. They played Jacksonville. Yeah, there we go. They played Jacksonville. Jacksonville beat them 36-19. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. I don't know what Jacksonville is. Jacksonville looks really good so far. I don't know what San Diego is because they've had one game where they played really well. Just came up a little short against San Diego. And then they've had one game where they did not look good at all. So maybe in a lot of ways, it's a little too early to start drawing these comparisons. Vegas came back and won and then lost this past weekend. I don't know. I don't know what it means for us as we come back into the Freeman Coliseum here in a few weeks on the 26th. That's going to be a busy weekend for me. I get to drive all over Texas that weekend. My wife and I have our anniversary. On Thursday, we're going to go to Houston, see a comedian, spend the evening in Houston. And then Saturday, either Friday night or Saturday, I'm going to come home, drop her off in Palacios. And then I'm on the road up to San Antonio and then back down to Palacios to preach on Sunday morning. Big weekend, long weekend, all over Texas, all over South Texas that weekend for me. Leo says Jacksonville has definitely improved. I don't think we know much yet, though. I agree with you, and we won't know. We'll know by the time we get to Jacksonville. Jacksonville is really late in our schedule, and so we might have a chance to know and sort of draw some comparisons. James Palmer, the 25th, I might attempt a Tritons game again and then go back to San Antonio for the game on the 26th. Pay close attention to the Tritons before you drive out that way. I have seen some reports on the internet that lead me to believe that you may see an announcement very soon that the Tritons are no more. Some late last week, there was some news starting to circulate about the Corpus Christi Tritons that was not good. And it began to be confirmed by other folks. Alex McSwain has inside information. Let us know. If you can share, let us know. James Palmer says, wouldn't shock me. We saw that first game out there. Not about the Tritons. Okay, well, we'll take other inside information too. We love it here. Yeah, so if you're planning on heading out to Corpus Christi to take in the game when they play Salina Liberty there on the 25th, just do your research before you start driving that way and make sure that game is actually going to happen. If it is, go. And go and enjoy some indoor football, see Darius Prince play. There's nothing stopping you. But if they're not playing, and I have the sneaking suspicion that things are starting to fall apart there in James Plummer says that game's against Albany and Sam Castronova. I don't believe so, man. I thought that was Salina. Corpus Christi Tritons. Corpus Christi Tritons. Corpus Christi. There they are. I've searched for them before. That's an easy find. Let me look at their schedule real quick. You're probably wrong, and you're probably right, and I'm probably wrong. Continue to Corpus Christi Tritons. Season tickets. Not season tickets. That's not what I want to know. Schedule. Oh, no, they have already played Salina twice. So you are correct. They will play Albany on the 25th. My bad. Alex McSwain says he was talking to Jordan at the season ticket holders party. Jordan is looking at possibly doing a couple of specialty jerseys similar to the Outlaw jersey last year. I'm always down for anything Jordan is going to make. I love Jordan stuff, and he could make. We talked about this last week on the show. I would love just a standard, almost carbon copy of what the players are wearing on the field, sort of jersey, numbers front and back. I understand that this gives him a chance to really design and have some fun with it, but I really would love. I was watching the Fisher's Freight game, and their fan jerseys were actual, like football-looking jerseys, front and back numbers, and it was pretty cool. Leo Yama says we need a Full Metal Jacket jersey with Coach Fuller. Agreed. There's something you can start working on, Jordan. I know that he will either hear this later or he is hearing this now. There are ideas right here for you. Speaking of which, James Palmer earlier said one thing that he's disappointed in is the lack of a Batman jersey so far. I know he was in the works on a Batman jersey one of the years, last year or the year before, and it just didn't come together. In fact, I think he even sent me his mock-up for them, and I agreed that they weren't what he was wanting. They weren't his normal quality. And so he scrapped it, which is great to know that that's the kind of thing Jordan does. He's not going to make something and go, well, I don't really like it, but people will spend money on it anyway. Jordan said, I got close this year with this year's standard jersey, just no numbers on the front. That's true. You did. And he says he won't send it unless it's worthy, and we appreciate that sort of work. Hey, you got Bullseye and Bull Spit for me? If you do, send those in the next few minutes because I'm going to be wrapping up here in just a second. James Palmer said, yeah, he said that didn't look right, that Batman jersey that James is waiting on. You'll get one. It'll happen. Maybe this season, maybe a later season. I do have Bullseye and Bull Spit, but it's not necessarily Gunslingers. It's more IFL related. One of them is Gunslingers, and one of them is IFL related. My Bullseye comes right out of tonight, and it is confidence and the just the overall feeling that I get from James Fuller. Let's not mince words. This is not a usual thing that you go through as a fan of a team. Usually when your team makes a coaching change, it means something. It means something big, and it doesn't mean something good, at least not for the immediate future. Not a lot of coaches change, not a lot of teams change head coaches and still have aspirations toward championships. Usually when you change coaches, it means things have gone really bad and you're just getting a head start on the offseason. After spending some time with Coach Fuller today, I feel like there's no reason that we can't be excited about where this team is going, and I don't see any reason why we can't continue to look for a championship this year. I think Coach James Fuller has exactly the right outlook that he needs, and I was very confident after talking to him about what's happening going forward for our team. I was very excited. Jordan Stubing, I will hint we're leaning DC rather than Marvel this year, so hang tight. Jordan, you have the possibility of doing the funniest thing ever and doing DC jerseys, but leaving Batman off the slate. And just like doing Superman and like Wonder Woman, by the way, I think Dolores Yamas would love a Wonder Woman jersey. I know that she's a big fan of Wonder Woman, so that would be pretty cool. But just do DC, but leave Batman off just to get James going. No, don't do that. I want a Batman jersey too. My bull spit, since I started, is not having a game. I know bye weeks are part of the way the schedule is built. I know that they're beneficial. I know that this one came at just the right time for the San Antonio Gunslingers. But I'll be honest with you, I really, really, really missed Gunslinger football this week. Like, I watched the other games out there. I enjoyed them for what they were. I took some notes on things that I found interesting all the way through the weekend. But man, I missed Gunslinger football. And so there's nothing that can be done about it. It's not like they need to never have bye weeks again, because that's not going to happen anyway. But not having Gunslinger football after 2 weeks of having it is such a tease. And I wanted Gunslinger football this week. So my bull spit is Gunslinger related too, I guess, but it's sort of IFL. It's a great sport. I have my IFL Network subscription. I watched it through my Xbox this time, and that sort of worked. But I need my Gunslinger football back. I'm ready. I'm ready for the Gunslinger football. I think there's a new Superman movie coming out. And so that might be some cross promotion. Jordan says, I don't like leaving business unfinished. I will achieve a dope Batman jersey this year. You heard it here first. And a 1-of-1 item would be awesome. Leave Philip out of it. Just create the Batman jersey for James. I got it. Leo Yamas checking in with his bullseye and his bullspit. Bullseye moving forward and better equipped to do it than most situations. Bullspit being freaking sick on his birthday and then the whole week after that. Yeah, that's not cool. Those of you that don't know, Leo had his birthday last week and he took the time off for his birthday and ended up just being sick the whole time. What a bummer. Not the way anybody wants to go through the week. And then for the week after, he's been not feeling well. We don't like that either. Well, thanks for sticking in with me. I know a few of you are still there and you've been hanging out with me. I promise we will have other folks on this show again next week. You won't just have to listen to my voice well, hold on. Let me be fair. You will still have to listen to my voice the whole time because I talk more than probably Leo and RC combined because I don't let them talk as much as I should. But you will not have to only hear my voice next week. Leo, take those vitamins, James Palmer says. Jordan says, happy birthday, Leo. Indeed, happy birthday and get better. Both of you, Leo and RC, so that you will be here next week as we begin to talk about the Arizona Rattlers game and what will, I hope, be a San Antonio Gunslingers victory over the champion Arizona Rattlers. We got to pay them back. Like, they got to the championship because they got to the playoffs. They got to the playoffs because they beat us. Had they not beat us, had we beat them, I think they would have been locked out of the playoffs and they could not be the champions. Alex McSwain's Bullseye, the upcoming Fiesta jersey, Bull Spit, seeing key players in limbo, either going to the IR or still pending with injuries. You know, we've gotten really lucky through the years at not having big injury issues. We've been very lucky. I can't remember, Leo could probably correct me if he was here, any significant injury issues that we've really had trouble with. Nothing like the injuries that happened 2 seasons in a row, as a matter of fact, to Jonathan Bain when he played for Carolina our first year in the NAL and ended up getting injured near the end of the season on that magical sort of Carolina season that they had, and it just kind of put a damper on their whole season. And then, of course, the very next season out in Orlando, being run into the boards on what was just kind of a messy thing and injuring himself. We haven't had those. We did have Alex McSwain mentions Collier out last year. That's true. But we've been able to stay away from rashes of a lot of significant injuries. Maybe this is our year to just, here at the beginning of the year, to just kind of have some of these little things pop up that we don't get the full start out of the gate like we want. It's certainly been the case so far. I can't wait to see Kali Rashad and Nyquan Murray on the field. I really think some of the offensive issues that we've had up to this point will begin to be mitigated when you add those two guys into the mix. And as Malik Henry gets a little more familiar with the players. He's familiar with the offense because he's been with Coach Fuller before, but as he gets connected to and more comfortable with the players, I really think the offense is going to come up and meet the defense. And I don't think we're going to see a drop-off on the defensive side of the ball. The thing that Tom Manas brought to this team was personnel. And he put great personnel in place, and I am thankful for Coach Manas doing that. But I really feel like once the personnel is in place, when they're as good as they are, it's hard to scheme around everything we have defensively. When you're talking about Austin Collier, Uric Jones, Jordan Jones, Clifton Duck, Riverius Rivers, there's a lot there that they just have to work around. And that's hard. That's on every level of the defense. There is a playmaker defensively, and that's just hard to get around. And so I don't see the defense dropping off, even though we did lose Tom and Austin. We did lose a guy that knows how to put a defense together, but he had already put a really solid defense together, and we may be able to just kind of utilize that through the season. I don't see any reason why we couldn't end up being the championship, the champions of the IFL. There's no guarantees, but I don't think we need to give up on it yet. James Palmer says next man up, and James Palmer, that was almost the title of this episode. I had it typed out and ready to go. Episode 5.07, next man up, because I knew that we were going to be talking with James Fuller, but I decided instead to go with the one you have instead, the new sheriff in town. And I didn't go with the next man up because we're not dealing with an injury issue. We're dealing with a change, and he's in charge. He's the boss of the shooting match now. Alex McSwain wants to see a banner in the rafters of the Freeman. I agree. I would love to see a championship. Let's start with playoffs. I want to see a playoff game in the Freeman. James Palmer wants a parade. Ralph would tell you right now, if he was still here on the show, he would tell you that there is a lot of hope around the organization that should the San Antonio Gunslingers win a championship, we, the San Antonio Gunslingers, San Antonio Gunslingers organization, not we, I guess, would push very hard to have a parade on the river for our team. That would be very cool. Not Spurs related. Hey, we've seen the Spurs win championships. Let's see the Gunslingers win championships. I don't think either of our teams, the Spurs or the Mavericks, are going to be winning championships this year. I don't think that's going to happen. Well, with all that being said, when it comes to the indoor football on the field and off the field, you won't find the best situation for indoor football up in Tulsa. They're good. They're not great. It's not out in Fishers. It's not over there in San Diego or Vegas. It's not down in Jacksonville, although they're pretty good at it. When it comes to indoor football, oh, I got one last comment I may want to read here. I want to do something this offseason at the Freeman like a concert and explain to people who don't know the Gunslingers who they are and the story of the banner. I love it. When it comes to indoor football, the 210 has got something to say. Bang, bang. All right. Thanks so much, folks, for hanging in with me. Really, thoughts and prayers. It's not life-threatening or anything, but you know what it's like when it's sick. Leo NRC, not feeling well. So be thinking about them, praying for them. Shoot them a message if you can on social media and say, hey, get better soon. I know they would appreciate that. Your Mavs sold the farm for beans. They sure did. I understand it. I get it. I understand why you don't want to give Luka a supermax contract. He does not take care of himself. But if you wanted to get out from under Luka, that's okay. I get it. But if you're going to get out from under Luka, float it out there to the entire NBA and start taking start auctioning the dude off. Start a bidding war, because you could have gotten more than you got for Luka. And you wouldn't have had to go to the Lakers. So much I don't like about that trade. I understand trading Luka. Like, I get that side of things. I wouldn't have done it, but I get it. But the way they went about it is where that's problematic. And it really kind of soured me on the Mavs for a time being. I'll get back there one day, but it's not like it was my favorite thing anyway. Hey, like, rate, and review. I say that every week, and you don't do the things that I ask you to do, because I track that kind of stuff, and I don't see reviews popping up on us, and we need them. We get lost in algorithms, and we need them. Please download the show when it hits your podcatcher, even if you don't listen to it. And yeah, Alex McSwain said they should have done what the Texans did for Watson. The Cleveland Browns look like the dumbest organization in the world right now. And I knew it as soon as they paid Watson what they paid him and made that trade. And they just, it was too much. All of it, the trade and the contract, just way too much for one player. I don't care how good he is. And I really thought a lot of Deshaun Watson before he started being such a weirdo. I thought he was a really good quarterback and a really good player. But as soon as he went to Cleveland, I was like, Cleveland's where these kind of careers go to die. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. Trade was fixed. Oh, maybe. I mean, I wouldn't put it past the NBA. I've never thought much of the NBA and the way they take care of their business. I don't like that. One of my biggest gripes about the NBA is the fact that star players get calls that other players don't get. And it is just known. Everybody knows it. Everybody's okay with it. this guy can do something to that guy and it's a penalty or a foul, but he does it to that guy and it's not. And it's just because of the number and name on the back of the jersey. That's not the way you do sports. If it's a penalty against that guy, it's a penalty against that guy. And so that has always been a big gripe for me when it comes to the NBA. And it's benefited me at times. Dirk Nowitzki was dang near untouchable at times. He got calls that he should not have gotten from time to time because he was a star. And I don't like that. Luka did the same thing. Although Luka didn't get it as much as he should because he couldn't keep his mouth shut. He gripes at the officials so much that they get tired of hearing the dude. And they move on and twist the knife a little bit on him. But I don't like it. I don't like that the NBA, that is part of the NBA, and they're just, everybody's okay with it. And then I've really, over the last 10 years, I just don't like the game anymore and the way it's played. I don't like this push in. You get across the half court line, you pass around the arc, you push in, the defense collapses, you kick out and try a three. And that's it. Like that, like I said earlier in the show, that is 90% of offensive possessions in the NBA right now, and I don't like it. It's not interesting. It's boring. It's boring basketball. I would fix the NBA. You made me the commissioner right now. I'd take away the 3-point line. Every shot's worth 2 points again. Force them to go back to going inside and getting the points inside where there's a high percentage of them. You want to shoot from the outside, fine, but there's not going to be any benefit to shooting from the outside. I want to wipe out the 3-point line and just go back to 2-point shots for everything. I think it's the way you make the game more exciting, actually, is to get rid of the 3-point shot, which used to be my favorite part of the game. Anyway, talking about a lot of stuff. Please like, rate, and review. Whatever way you get the podcast, whatever way you get podcasts, go on there and give us a 5-star review with a little sentence or two. It's very important that you write something. Because the algorithm does not pay attention to just stars. It pays attention to stars with a blurb. Please do that. Please go online or on your phone. Take 4 or 5 minutes and do that for us. It helps. It helps more people see the podcast, which will bring more people into the San Antonio Gunslingers posse. And that's what we need. We need more and more eyeballs on the product. Because if Fisher's Freight can have 7,500 people in Indianapolis, or just outside of Indianapolis, there is no reason we can't fill up the Freeman Coliseum. We can do it. They got a hockey team that they were able to transfer some of those people over. Great. But we got 2.1 million people in San Antonio, even more than that in South Texas. There's no reason we're not filling up the Freeman Coliseum every game. And we got to get more eyeballs on the product. And so what I'm asking you to do for us and for Brandon, do it for both shows because it just gets more eyeballs on things. James Palmer, I'll try and remember. I do always forget. Hey, I get it. I totally understand. All right, guys. Enjoyed it. We'll be back next week. Guns up. Gunslingers are going to do... I have CRS, and then he says CRS is can't remember stuff. That's the polite version. I know what it means. I'm not going to say it because I'm a pastor. We're not supposed to use those words, so I never say those words. Right, Leo? Good night, folks. Get to that watch party at Sidelines if you have the inclination to join with some other Gunslingers fans. And as much as she's been asking about it, I can't imagine that RC won't try her darndest to be out there. And so you'll at least run into one of us. That's all I got for tonight. Like, rate, and review. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys later.